Ladies and gentlemen, SideStrafe back with another episode of the Strafing Run, and got a few updates for you today. Wanted to mostly discuss returning from my trip to Portugal. Fantastic time that I had there, and also discuss a few things in regards to the channel, some games that I may or may not be looking at. But first and foremost, let's talk about the fact that we've got some Star Wars The Old Republic running in the background once again. Still enjoying this MMO. I've decided to pay for another month subscription-wise. As most of you know, I believe in free-to-play games. If they're good enough, then I will throw coin their way. We all know that I love World of Tanks, and I've spent a pretty penny on that title over the years. I don't even want to think about how much I've spent on it, but honestly, I feel that for the most part, everything has been worth it. I get a great deal of enjoyment out of that title. And Star Wars, you know, it's gotten money from me, especially since I even, you know, bought their collector's edition, which in hindsight wasn't that great. Not really worth it, if you ask me, especially since they don't really support their exclusive collector's edition store that they promised that they would. Lies. Bold-faced lies. But, you know, moving right along, I think that you can enjoy the game for free if you so choose. But I do enjoy some of the perks and advantages to subscribing, at least for now. So I'm going to look at it, you know, through a month-to-month basis and see what happens. Because I know myself more than anybody else, and generally I get tired of games for whatever reason, and I'll probably stop playing down the line. But right now I'm enjoying it. I'm just taking it slow, not trying to hardcore grind. If I get tired, I don't want to force myself anymore. I just want to stop playing, switch characters, or just log off entirely and do something else. So I think you need to pace yourself when it comes to an MMO. I really do love MMOs. I'd like to have an MMO always featured on the channel. I think they're a little bit more relaxing than playing, you know, typical shooters, and I think it's a nice change of pace, because obviously my channel has been mostly shooters, and I think you guys like seeing something a little different, especially considering that it's Star Wars and everybody loves Star Wars, and it's just in general science fiction, and for the most part it's either on my channel modern day combat or warfare, or maybe even some sort of World War II thing. But so that's that. Moving right along, let's obviously get to the fact that I was in Europe for 2 weeks. Apparently some people weren't even aware of that, even though I tweeted it, put it on Facebook, made a strafing run about it. You know, it's amazing that people still miss all that, which is why I recommend that you check me out on Facebook as well as Twitter. Links are always in the description below, so you can keep up to date. But I went to Portugal for 2 weeks to visit my good friend Rurikan. He was getting married, and it was probably the most epic time of my life. I mean, we basically explored his whole country, which it's a small country, and it's a beautiful country. You know, it doesn't have to be large. There's the terrain. It was just a variety of terrain. If you went north, you saw one type of terrain. If you went south, you saw something else. I mean, the weather would change, and the weather over there is actually amazing. Their sun's a bit powerful, but generally I enjoyed the type of weather variance that they had there, you know, compared to where I live. And just beautiful, you know, rolling hills and kind of mountainous areas in some cases, and the vineyards, and the fact that there's castles everywhere. You know, Rui told me before I went, I was like, oh man, we got castles everywhere. He's like, I trip over castles, and it's true. There are so many, and you know, other than going for the wedding, you know, it was kind of an objective of mine to see as many castles as possible, because obviously in the States we don't have any. And there you've got such old, you know, 900-plus-year-old castles. We saw this one that was, you know, once commanded by the Knights Templar. You had to take a little boat to get to it. Oh, simply gorgeous and stunning. To be able to walk on these structures that were built hundreds of years ago by, you know, knights and things like that. And that, to me, that's real fantasy in my opinion. Just, it was incredible. Like, I don't even have words to describe it. And, you know, I took a lot of photography or pictures when I was there, but, you know, even those photos just really don't do it justice. When you're there, you just have to soak it in and think, you know, about how petty everything else is in life, and how we take everything for granted when you're just walking on these old structures and looking into raw scenery, you know, untouched lands where, you know, nowadays some of those castles are becoming touristy. You know, they're trying to make money off of them, but there are some that still remain kind of untouched. And when you look out into a certain direction, there would be some castles where you'd look one way and there'd be, you know, a village or town, or a modern town or something. But then you'd look on the other side and it would be just forest. And it was fun to look in that direction and just pretend that you were in medieval times and seeing what they would see back then. That was what was really cool. And some of my photography actually reflects that. But, you know, just an amazing place. You know, I miss a lot of the food. Except for the fact that they don't really seem to be big on Italian cuisine. It was difficult for me a little bit because it's Portugal and they're quite known for their seafood selection, and I'm not exactly a big seafood fan. And boy, oh boy, did the Portuguese people let me have it for that. Apparently, it's some sort of sin to say you don't like seafood over there. They would not let that go at all. They kept driving that one into me, and well, yeah, got a little old there. But you know, other than that, when it came to the foods that I did enjoy, such as their variety of, you know, steaks and chicken and the way they cooked it and seasoned it, oh my goodness. We went to this one restaurant that they only served one dish, and you know when a restaurant serves only one thing, and that you don't need a menu, and, you know, the only difference there is like, well, what would you like to drink? You know that one dish is going to be gourmet, simply amazing. The meat just melted in your mouth. It was just, I can't even describe. That was fantastical. So yeah, I probably won't ever eat as well again. Even bread over there is just different than it is in the States. In the U.S., everything we have is pretty much processed or, you know, chemically enhanced or something, and it's really hard to eat healthy here. And if you want to eat healthy here, you have to pay for it. You have to pay a lot more for it, I should say. So yeah, you know, a lot of things I think in Europe. Portugal is just one example of a place where if you enjoy simple living, you could probably have an amazing life. However, there are downsides, of course. You know, Rui complains about them all the time in regards to access to certain technologies, internet services, prices of, you know, games and hardware. So yeah, you know, in the States and North America and maybe other parts of the world, we have a lot of advantages that they don't over there. But in regards to, you know, just enjoying a country for scenery and history, then perhaps, you know, that's actually a nice choice there. So I suppose it depends. You know, I've always thought, like, where could you live in the world? And it's like, well, unfortunately, I could never give up what I have in the U.S. or even I can choose between the U.S. or Canada if I wanted to. But I could never give up certain things that I have here. But boy, oh boy, is it nice to visit those types of things. And I look forward to my continued travels. But primarily, I just wanted to take the time to really thank Rui and his wife for going above and beyond the Call of Duty to host us, to take care of us, to give us, you know, a place to stay. And his parents were amazing as well. They were just fantastic. They were, the people in Portugal, I mean, all the families that I met, most of the people were just so very kind. They were just willing to give what they had, and they fed us. They housed us. They you know, Rui drove us across his entire country. You know, he insisted on paying for way more than he needed to. In fact, I would have to either insist or go up to a waitress and say, hey, I'm paying, don't pay for this. If they spoke English, of course, because I don't speak Portuguese. So, you know, I'd have to sneak in some way to pay for meals half the time. Because, you know, honestly, I'm not used to anybody paying for anything for me. And, you know, generally I wasn't accustomed to that. So it was difficult there. And, you know, I don't even want to think about how much the guy spent on me, you know, alongside his family and whatnot. But I'm just really thankful to have friends like that. And it goes to show you that you can have friends all over the world. They don't need to be like right next to you. Because I think I used to know somebody who used to think it was difficult to maintain friendship at long distance, and that's just hogwash, because obviously I've proven that to be, you know, wrong. You can meet some amazing people across the world, and I think everybody, especially Americans, who typically have a closed-minded or a reputation for being closed-minded and only open to what's within, you know, our own country. I just want everybody to know that I am open to other cultures and people and countries, and I totally respect where everybody comes from, and good people can exist all over the world, and Rurikhan is definitely a shining example of that. Again, him and his wife just... I can't even... There's nothing I can even say in words in terms of how much trouble they went to, and, you know, it was just fun hanging out with them finally after all these, you know, years of just being online and Skyping and whatnot. So... just a great experience just to hang out with a good friend, as well as, you know, just see this amazing country. Hopefully I can travel and see other places as well. Germany might be a possibility for Gamescom in August. I was thinking about hitting E3. I have been at Los Angeles a couple of times, but I was thinking about hitting E3 this time. I could technically go, but I think it's just not going to be in the budget, and it's just, unfortunately, I procrastinated a bit too much, and finding hotels and whatnot is a bit difficult. So I might skip out on E3 this year. I'll probably do it for sure next year, but I am looking at Gamescom in August, maybe. So Germany for the win, perhaps. We'll see. Anyways, that's that. Again, special thanks to Rurikhan. I've always pointed his channel out in the past before, but if you haven't seen him, if you don't know who he is, link will be in the description below to his channel. Go ahead and check him out. If you like his stuff, then indeed subscribe and stay tuned to what he's got to offer. Because, you know, I typically watch, you know, there's a handful of people that I actually watch myself, and he's definitely been one of them. So there's that. Anyways, moving right along in terms of games that I am playing or want to play, again, for, like I had mentioned in the past, maybe I talked a little bit about MMOs and Defiance. Some of you had suggested that I play Defiance as opposed to Star Wars, but, you know, I still think Star Wars is pretty brilliant. So I had tried Defiance, you know, on Rurikhan's account at one point, and I wanted to like it. I really did, but I think that I just generally don't like the storyline. I think it's going to be a poor sci-fi series. I don't think it's going to last forever. Sci-Fi Channel has a bad reputation with TV shows that they've created. Generally, if you think about it, Battlestar Galactica existed before, and they were based on ideas that, well, I want to rephrase that. Battlestar Galactica obviously pre-existed and was reimagined to a point of further success. They had Stargate SG-1, which, you know, obviously comes from the movie, which was great for a long time. Anything after SG-1 was a bag of terrible. And then beyond that, any other show that Sci-Fi has tried to put out has just seemed to flop. And I think that Defiance, the show, maybe there's some glimmers of hope there, and I think some people seem to like it. I just don't think it's going to last. I think it's a bit too cheeseball for me. No offense to anybody. But I wonder what happens if... I know that show got renewed for a second season, but what happens if the show fails? What happens to the game? You know, it could still exist, sure, but the game just seems kind of bland, and I have a feeling that the end game, there's nothing to do. So for those of you that are playing Defiance, let me know what you think. Do you think it's a great game still? Are you at the end? Is there an end game? How does it work? I don't know. Do you still think it's a viable title? Even if I were to pick it up for a discounted rate, maybe let's say I can get it for $30. Would it be worth it? You know, I definitely want to see your feedback. I'll check out the comments below. Let me know what you think about Defiance. Because I do like the idea of a Twitch-based shooter MMO. I do. It really hasn't grabbed me yet, so we'll see on that. Beyond that, I'm still looking at other MMOs. I'd like to try anything that comes out that just seems to have some sort of level of quality. The Elder Scrolls Online is something that I will look at. I was horribly disappointed by Neverwinter. terrible. I jumped into it, and if the game doesn't grab me in the first 10 minutes, I'm out. It was ugly. The animations were horrible. No, thank you. Thanks for ruining another Dungeons and Dragons franchise. And maybe the gameplay is decent, but I don't care. It's 2013, and I can't handle that. I can't handle the stiff. I mean, if I want, man, if I want Twitch gameplay, I'm gonna go play Terra, which is, you know, now 100% free to play. No thanks. I'm not gonna play some dungeon crawler with really bad I mean, the character creation. Ugh, some hideous characters. And I really hate to see that because I love Dungeons and Dragons. I used to play the tabletop game. And I know you guys are probably, you know, yelling at me for complaining about aesthetics again, but it was just so bad that I couldn't even progress. And so that was that. Sorry, that's just not happening. I'm not going into that at all. But yeah, so keeping an eye on MMOs as far as other games that I would like to look at. Arma 3, I'm sure a lot of you are like, well, you know, where's the Arma 3 content? Guys, it's just difficult. I'm not the kind of guy that likes to join clans or units or organizations and things like that. I just don't have time for those things. And Arma 3 is not the kind of game where you can just jump in a server and have automatic team versus team. There are some mods that are doing it. There's some gameplay modes that do allow for it. But generally, every time I get on, or let's say, okay, first of all, I get to the server browser. I try to match, okay, sort by players. Sort by ping and players is usually what I do. Okay, sort by ping. Nothing there under the ping that I need. Okay, let's sort by players. I look by players. Wasteland, 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 Wasteland. That's all I see. Okay, everybody's playing Wasteland. Well, I don't want to play Wasteland. I want to play normal Arma 3. Okay, who's playing normal Arma 3? Okay, there's some people playing co-op. That's fine. Most people that buy Arma play co-op. But I don't want to play co-op. I want adversarial. I want to fight real players. Okay, there's 2 servers. Okay, let me jump on this one. The ping is bad, but let me jump in. I jump in. The performance is just atrocious. And it's alpha, so I expect it to be atrocious. But that's not going to make for good video content, so I'm not going to film it. And there's the reason. So hopefully that's been an example of why I'm not filming as much Arma 3. Beyond that, it just comes down to the fact that when you get into an Arma battle, let's say you spawn in, you got to drive to a location, and you got to get out and try to find enemies to shoot at. So if, like I said, my ideal game would be Battlefield, but with Arma's gameplay. Done. That's what I want. So there's that. But I still am very excited about Arma 3. I really want to cover it. The other day I was just trying so hard. I was like, please let me find a server. I want to make a video of this game so bad. And I know everybody wants it because, you know, a lot of you probably subscribed for the fact that I like tactical shooters. And half the time I'm not even playing those tactical shooters. You know, it's like, sweet, an Arma 3 channel. Why is Blacklight Retribution on here? It's like, I mean, I like all kinds of shooters. I think there's always a time and a place for arcade Twitch and then realism tactical. It's just hard finding the right balance, and hopefully with Arma 3, I can find something that'll work. I guess with time, it's still alpha, guys. We got a long way to go before it reaches any level of perfection, and it's pretty darn good for an alpha. It's just that in terms of covering it on a regular basis, please be patient. I will have more for it, and we'll see what happens there. I don't want to touch DayZ for Arma 2. Please stop mentioning it. I don't really care about Wasteland. Please stop talking about Project Reality. I know about it. I actually created their very first gameplay trailer for the Battlefield 2 version of the mod many moons ago. It was a terrible trailer. Well, it wasn't terrible. I just was very inexperienced at video editing. It was okay, I guess. It's still kind of cool, but it's probably out there somewhere if you want to try to find it. But it was like their very first trailer, and yeah, I know about it. So there's that. I'm not gonna reinstall Battlefield 2. Battlefield 2 is a horrible game engine, and just the bullet ballistics were terrible, and I don't want to go back to that title. So please stop mentioning that. I'm aware of many games, even if you think I'm not. Trust me. I don't know how many times people are like, oh, try Battlefield 2 Project Reality. No. Not happening. You know what? I was telling my friend the other day, the biggest issue with Battlefield 3 is that it's not moddable. Because if Battlefield 3 was moddable, we would probably have Battlefield 3 Project Reality, and all of my issues would be resolved. Dang you, EA. It's not DICE's fault. You know it's EA. The worst publisher ever created. Ubisoft with a close second, I think. But unfortunately, they hold all the cards. They have a lot of the hot titles. What can you do? We're forced to buy their titles no matter what. So there's that. It's just the sad truth. Because could you imagine some of the mods we'd be seeing if the Frostbite engine would allow it? Oh my goodness. All the problems would just go away. But there's Insurgency, which I tried recently. Uses the Source engine. Not a very pretty game. It's not horrible, but you know, it is one solution. Still needs a lot of work. A lot of you guys are telling me that it's been in alpha for quite some time. And there is such a thing in being alpha for too long, so hopefully they learn what progression is and are able to just kick it into gear and just... I mean, if it's been in alpha for that long and they still have a bug where you shoot a guy and he bounces 50 feet into the air, that kind of worries me. Thankfully, it's cheap, but, you know, come on, guys. Come on, guys. You're actually charging for this thing now. I mean, even though it's alpha, you're charging for the game, so that means that you need to, you know, do something about, you know, about your title. Because there is potential there, and I will keep an eye on it. I think I want to make a couple more videos of live gameplay with commentary, so we'll see that. We'll see how that goes, because it actually is kind of what I'm looking for. Something where it just pits two teams, you know, against each other. I want to try to find more no respawn servers, but there's just not enough people playing the dang thing. So there's sometimes you log in, it's like, oh great, 2 servers with people on them. None of them are running no respawn, so you're screwed. And honestly, I just wish the game would force no respawn. That there wasn't a respawn option. Just, I wish somebody would just make a game like, I remember back in the day, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. How many times have I brought this game up? Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six came out. There were no options for respawning. None. Deal with it. Realism, deal with it. 1 or 2 bullets kill you. Don't get shot. You're shot in the leg? Oh, guess what? You're limping now. You got shot in the arm or the hand? Guess what? Your aim sucks now. Don't get shot. Oh, you're dead? Cry some more. You're dead. Don't get shot. Don't be stupid. Be patient. Be tactical. Play with your team. That's what those games were about. People are missing that. Nobody wants to get penalized anymore. Nobody wants to get punished for playing like an idiot. And that's what ticks me off. People are afraid. They don't want to be accountable for their mistakes. Oh, I want to respawn, so it doesn't matter. I'm just going to kamikaze this thing. I'm going to run in there like an idiot. I'm going to drive this tank right into the enemy base just because I want a taxi system. You know, it just... I'm sick of it. You know, I'm really sick of it. I want developers to man up and say, guess what? You're not going to get a respawn because you need to play smart. So, there's that. Imagine if I was a game developer. The world would be in trouble. But, you know, there's that. It comes down to the majority of the world. The population doesn't want those kinds of games, and that's why they will always just be part of the... I guess the minority of games out there. There'll always be. I'm trying to word this. I don't know. There will always be fewer of those titles than you know, everything else, because that's just the way it is. So yeah. Beyond that, RTS, Company of Heroes 2. I am a big Company of Heroes fan. I played COH from day one. I even played it from the day the demo of it existed, I think. I love that game. I played it for many years. It was always a game that I could go back to. It had a solid game engine that just never seemed to age. Nowadays, it's a little disappointing because the Company of Heroes 2 engine almost looks the same, but you know, still generally, you know, looks decent. It's going to come into play. The gameplay is going to be is what's most important, of course, here. I just don't cover RTS that much on YouTube because generally I like doing live commentary, and I cannot focus and talk at the same time when it comes to RTS. And you know, I've never said that I'm great at games. I think the the game that I'm best at is World of Tanks because I play it a lot. And if you don't play a game a lot, you're never going to be good at it. And since I play a variety of titles, I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. So therefore, I'm never going to be good at these games. Like yesterday when I made my Blacklight Retribution video, I was talking about how I'm terrible. And it's because I haven't been practicing. It has nothing to do with the game or anything else. It's just, if you don't practice, you suck. That's how it is. So when it comes to RTS, I don't practice enough. And generally, I'm not good with quick keys and things like that, and binding things and organizing my units and knowing the build orders and stuff like that. So generally, online, competitive, I'm terrible. So I'll tell you this right now. If I ever make a video of Company of Heroes 2, which I have been thinking about, except for the fact that their prices for pre-order are outrageous, I'm sad that they've gone with the AAA pricing, $60 for the base game and $100 for their collector's edition. I really wish they wouldn't go into AAA pricing, because that always worries me, but I guess I'm going to have to pay for it eventually, so there's that. But if I ever cover the game, don't expect me to be good at it. I just generally would play the game casually and just for fun. I would always train up against AI. Me and my friends would play. Once in a while, well, I should say me and my one friend would play against real people and always get stomped unless we get lucky once in a while. I would always feel like he wouldn't hold his end up of the battle, because it was always, if you're playing 2v2, if your friend stinks or is way too slow, because my friend was always, when he played RTS, he was always a turtler. And in Company of Heroes, you can't turtle. You can't. It's not that kind of game. It's not, you know, Age of Empires. Or some other title that does allow for that. It's not Command and Conquer. You know, so he would turtle. I'm like, dude, we have to take this territory. Where's your guys at? Why do you only have 2 platoons and a jeep? Like, what are you doing? You would have nothing, and I'd be up in the front fighting for my life, entrenched, taking these positions. And then he'd be like, oh, it's not my fault, and this and that. And so it was just, I'm guilty of certain things too. I'm not amazing, but man, when you look at the end of the end of battle report, and it's like, I have more points than you. Okay, well, you know, what else do we got to look at? So there's that. So 1v1, I would kind of hold my own against, you know, somebody that would, if there was an even matchup, then yeah, it wouldn't be so bad. But I tell you what, some of these veterans, whew, matchmaking system in COH1 was terrible. I'm guessing in 2 it's probably a lot better. Hopefully, it's a lot more like StarCraft 2. I would think so, but I do need to get on that. Just please don't have any expectations of me succeeding at that, because it's probably not going to happen. But I think that covers that for now. Those are some titles that I'm looking at. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I want to thank you for your patience while I was away. Things like that might happen again in the future, but hopefully I'll just have content to cover myself while I'm gone. But anyways, again, hopefully you've enjoyed this episode of the Strafing Run. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, I will see you on the next one.